I'm looking over here and allowing somebody else's definition of success to be my definition, right?
Right.
I remember uh I can't remember whose class I was in, maybe Mr. Free or somebody, right? And I think it was his class. I always liked history, so I studied, right, and it was like two questions I couldn't get. Right, I couldn't. I'm taking the test and I couldn't get it. Melinda Barber sat to the side of me. Right, Melinda Barber. Uh, Matter of fact, she just lost her brother. Shout out and rest in peace to Ken Barber.
Yeah.
Melinda
Condolences go to
Barber
him, man.
was more one of the smarter kids in our class. Her mother was a teacher. She was smart. So I glance over at Melinda's paper, right? So I glance over. I see what she has for those answers, for the two answers I'm looking for, right? But it's a multiple choice test. So I don't see questions, I just see an answer sheet. So I see those two, but I'm looking at my answer sheet, and about 7 or 8 of the other answers ain't the same. I'm like, damn. I know for a fact I knew these were right. Now I'm questioning it. So now I go back and I start changing stuff, right? Now I'm cheating. I'm looking at her paper and I'm changing my answers on my paper, right? So we get it back. They hand the papers out. I see Melinda get a 9.8. I'm like, I got this 9.8. I get mine. I had like a 45 on it, right? And I'm thinking, I said, how in the hell did that happen? Whole time we had different tests. He giving out tests in different with questions in different orders. A lot of teachers do that, right? So by me looking over here, trying to define my success off of her paper and changing all the shit that I already had right. It was right if I left it alone.
You knew it.
I sacrificed my whole test for 2 questions that I didn't quite know, right? When I could have just kind of guessed, because I based my success off of her, right? And then when I got my test back, I failed because I'm over here looking outside looking in. I'm over here looking over here. I can't see everything, but it looks like that's what success is, and what I got in front of me ain't. That's how dangerous it could be.
Welcome to the Eat Cypher. Flow harder than the hands on Peter Piper. And now we would like to introduce you to your rivals. It's like Ali and Tyson. The hook miss with the liking. Show nothing, Mr. Bison. Maximus and Leonidas. You were in the booth with Titans. Goons, goblins, and Vikings. It ain't really nothing like us.
Hey, so welcome back to the Lit Code. I'm Edgar Jones.
I'm Courtney Anderson.
We're back.
Yeah.
Hey, man, if it's your first time checking us out and being here with us right now, we appreciate you for tuning in. If you came back to check us out, we appreciate you for coming back. Court, man, I just want to start off by saying I feel like it's been forever since we feel like it's been forever and a day since we have done this. It really hadn't, but it just feel like it's been a while because we ain't really been having a chance to talk like that, you know.
Yeah.
You traveled back down home, huh? Went back down Louisiana.
Yeah, man. I took a few days off and went back home for my niece's wedding. So congratulations to her and her new husband on their union. It was my first time being back for more than one day in over 2 years. I think I went back a year and a half ago to pick up the family. I was just there for a day then, so it was like in and out. Prior to that, I was there for a day for my son's birthday, and that was the September before the November they left. So I hadn't been in a while, man. It was good to go back, good to spend some time with my people, and it was good to see that life was still happening on that end. Even though I'm here, you've experienced the same thing being away for a while, and it just puts stuff into perspective for you. Lets you realize that just because you're not there don't mean life stopped. You know,
right.
I got to see some bittersweet things. I got to visit my aunts, and they're getting older, which is a beautiful thing because longevity is key. At the same time, it's bitter because I hadn't seen them in a while, so now they're a little older than they were when I left.
Yeah,
but it was good to be home. Home is home, man. We can attribute a lot of our ways to that place. A lot of our upbringing, the way we look at life, our experiences happened there. So I'm nothing without that place. So man, I was happy to be back home, happy to see who I could see. And then it also showed me that the illusion of time. You know, you thinking, man, I got 4 days, I can see everybody I want to see and do everything I want to do. It, as an adult, that concept of time is way different than it was when we were kids. We were kids 4 days, man, we could take the world over. Now, we see that it takes a little longer to see everybody you want to see and do everything you want to do, man. So for those of you who are watching and have been watching, man, thank y'all as always. We're saying it's been a while because we didn't record during that time while I was gone. You guys won't miss a beat. You'll see episode after episode just like it always has been. And that's because we're a week or two ahead. So we pre-record. But as for us, we hadn't recorded in a week or two. And that's not, and we didn't talk as much then. This brings me to another important point. The reason we didn't talk is because I treated my trip home as a reset, right? I didn't post breakfast post. I didn't record this. I didn't answer a whole bunch of calls. I didn't text a lot. I didn't have a lot of activity on social media because I was taking in content. Basically, I was being one with my trip, if you would, and allowing the universe to speak to me through that trip and allow myself to reset. And that's something all of us need to know to do from time to time, to kind of get off the grid and reset yourself. So that's the reason we're saying it's been a while when it really hadn't. And it won't be in the change for y'all, but just giving y'all a little background on my trip home. And Ed, you want to toss them into the rabbit hole we're going down, well, the trimmer hole we're going down today?
Yeah, man. I think it kind of going back to what you said, I think it was, that time really not talk, because for the people that don't know, me and this dude talk every day. Yeah. Probably for without a doubt once a day, but sometimes it could be 2 or 3 times. It just depends on at that moment in time, what's on our minds, what we thinking about. So, those past couple of days I didn't get a chance to really talk to you. It was intentionally. I did it. I purposely did it because I wanted to give you that time to really spend time with the family, man. I know y'all had to drive down, which was a nice long drive. So really be in that moment because you're a working man. So, you get that time with the family is definitely important. But I knew when we got back reunited with each other and connected, we was going to have some things we had been thinking about. Yeah. So I shall go down the rabbit hole. And the rabbit hole I wanted to dive down today, there's a couple things me and you talked about, but one thing that really I've been sitting on and thinking about for a while is planting seeds. Planting seeds, man. And the reason why I really started to think about planting seeds is because in the past year, I've had 2 close buddies that passed. A good man, dude. I held close to my heart, and I still do. I take a lot of things that I've learned from them, and I still hold close to me. But at they both passed, and they both passed a couple of months in between. It seemed like after the doors that opened up for their significant other, the help that they got, people that just came out of the woodworks and basically either spoke at their funeral or reached out to one of their children or reached out to the wife, and just really was an open door to resources and whatever they needed. And it wasn't just because typically that happens when people pass, right? Initially at the beginning, you have that, and then over time, people just kind of go off and start to do their own thing. But it wasn't just after they passed; it was months down the road of just doors and opportunities opening up for their family members, and it led me to start thinking about seeds that we plant in life. And I know I've been guilty of this, of planting seeds, whether that's you know, maybe something financially I end up investing in. Maybe that's relationship wise, you plant seeds, right? When you invest in people and you spend time, sometimes you think that you're supposed to see the fruits of their labor instantly, right? You're supposed to
Yeah,
see it fast, or in a
yeah,
couple months, I'm gonna see it, or in a year and a half, it's gonna come. But what I've started to really understand and see through those tragic events that's happened, that um, man, they were planting seeds that they never got a chance to see, but their family members got a chance to see,
mhm,
or their kid got a chance to see. And it made me start to just think, man, that this life that we live is not for us to see it all. Um, say you were in a relationship with somebody, man, a good friend, and you were pouring into them, and that person never really gave you feedback, or never said anything to you about how you had an impact on them. But 5 years down the road, they end up saying something to you. You know what I'm saying? Or they may not ever end up saying anything to you, but just how they started to carry out their life and the way they started to live and their actions was really predicated and based off of the impact that you had on them. And they never really said anything to you. So I brought that to you about the importance of planting seeds and understanding that these seeds that we plant in life, um, the good seeds that you can plant, shall I say? Because you can plant seed. It depends on what you plant, right? It's just a flip side to that coin. But I brought that to you about the importance of, and me starting to think a lot more about it, is that the things we do in life, man, sometimes it's not for us to see the reward of it. It's for somebody else to see. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's for your neighbor to see, or for a good friend, or for your child, or for your significant other. And that brings me to my next point of understanding the importance that it's bigger than us. You know what I'm saying? It's actually bigger than you. It's not all about you. And that there was a stage in my life I used to always think it's about me, it's about me, it's about me, it's about me. Until I've had to kind of pull back and through life events happening, realizing that it's not about me, man. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
About planting them seeds and being very intentional and really thinking about what am I planting? Because
mhm,
something gonna sprout, something gonna come busting out of the soil. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? And then the other
yeah,
thing we talked about, be careful the book you writing,
yeah,
based off decisions that you make. Because I think for
mhm,
myself, there's been some things I've done, situations I didn't handle the right way, um, relationships I probably didn't handle the right way, that I had to go back and read that book. Conscious wise, I was thinking about it. Had to go back and revisit and read that book.
yeah,
And that book, man, was something I wanted. I didn't like going to chapter 2 on that book. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? But now, as I've moved forward as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a brother, as a neighbor, just trying to really be intentional as far as the seed I'm planting and the book that I'm writing.
yeah, yeah, man. Every individual world, uh so me and you, we live in two different worlds, right? Even though we're connected, even though we see a lot of stuff uh the same way, even though we're on the same frequency, I see my world through my eyes, and only I can see it that way, same as you, right? And I like to think of each individual world as a garden, right? And most of the stuff that happens in our world, especially as adults, it's gonna be based on seeds we planted, right? I decided a while ago I wanted to change up my career path. I wanted to make a certain amount of money so I could save and build up and do certain things. And I planted that seed in my mind, and then I had to work on it. It took about 5 years, right? Because good seeds require cultivation. Uh, we're from old farm towns, right? Soil has to be prepared first. Uh, got to plant your seeds a certain way, whether it be distributing them or planting them on a row system. They have to be planted a certain depth. Then you have to feed them. You have to water them. You have to keep parasites off of them, and it takes time for them to grow. Right into your good stuff, the crop you want, your desired crop, it takes work. So it don't just ain't like you just plant the seed. It ain't jacking the beanstalk, right? You know, just throw the
Yeah.
seeds in the ground, and all of a sudden you get to go up the giant world. Happens like that in the movies, but it don't happen like that in real life, right? We're from the microwave age, right? They call us the microwave age, our age group, because it's when microwave dinners were big, right? So you can have a whole dinner in 2 minutes, just throw it in the microwave, and it's boom, it's ready, right? And that kind of made us also the elevator or the escalator age, where you don't have to take the stairs anymore. You just ride it up and get there faster. So that part's working against us. And now this age is coming up under us. It's even more instant, right? You get what you want right then. We talk about it all the time. The internet first hit our hands. You had dial up. If we wanted to look at a picture or something, it might take 10 minutes for it to, you get it in pixels, half of it will be on the screen, and 5 minutes later, the other part, and then 5 minutes later, another part. Now, if I want to watch a movie, read a book, whatever, when I click on it, it's there. So it's even more instant now. And what that does is creates an illusion of instant gratification, right? So we think whatever we start up, whatever desired plant we want now, a crop we want now, we're supposed to throw it in the ground and boom, we're supposed to see it. And that just ain't how life works. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot of work and cultivation for the good stuff. Now, if you want to throw a bad seed in the ground, ask any good farmer where we're from, the weeds are there no matter what. As soon as you plant that, or you cut the grass, and once you're cutting the grass, you think you're doing a good job and it looks pretty, but you actually throwing those weed seeds all over the place, they'll pop up and take over instantly. And what weeds do, those bad seeds, what they do is they compete with the good seeds for sunlight, right? And for nutrients and for water. And since they take over, they'll choke the life out of the good stuff that you wanted, right? It's getting choked out now. So even if it don't kill it, what it does is weakens it. So now those parasites and the diseases and all that stuff, it's easy for it to come in and choke that out. And then before you know it, you just got a field full of weeds and the bad stuff that you didn't want, right? But the thing is, you got to be aware that you planted. So you got to be very, very careful of why you're cultivating your crop, why you're trying to make sure this desired stuff grows, that you keep that bad stuff out. You don't want no bad seeds in your batch, because when they hit the ground, boom. And the illusion is some of the bad stuff feels good, right? At first, you thinking, oh, okay, that's gratification. And then down the road, you see that I'm only getting negative results from this. And you realize there wasn't gratification, right? Darkness. How many rich people you know that spend their whole lives building this empire up, and then they go off the deep end. Somebody gets shot, they get caught up in some kind of scandal. You start seeing that, okay, they may have been molesting people or sexually harassing people. That's what's happening right now today in our world. We see it all the time. Your R. Kelly's, your Cosby's, whether it was truth behind them or not, those bad seeds that they allowed to creep into their lives, what did it do at the end? Right? It strangled their whole empire, right? Brought it crumbling down because it took over. You know what I'm saying? What they thought was instant gratification, then slowly but surely took down all their work in one day. That's how it can happen to you, and that's how the bad works. So today we want to focus on that, right? We want to talk about that. We want to talk about what seeds are you planting, and then what are you doing to make sure that that desired crop is growing, and what are you doing to keep those bad seeds out of your bunch?
Yeah, man. It's and it brings you to my next point. It being, I have to start being a lot more aware, man, because I used to struggle with this as well, and at times I still do, but just being aware of what am I consuming, man, and what am I taking in, because I'm consuming it. That seed is being planted, and through that seed being planted, something's gonna sprout out of it.
Yeah.
So, me and you talked earlier, and I told you about Moneybag Yo.
Yeah.
Now, I would consider myself as a blues guy, and most with gospel music. That's for the most part. That's what I usually listen to. Sometimes if I listen to rap, it's more like 80s hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Maybe some 90s in there. But most artists that's out now, I hear about their names, but as far as listening to their music, I just don't. You know what I'm saying? For my own reasons. But I saw a couple people on social media post about one of Moneybagg Yo's songs. What it was, if pain was
If
a
pain was a
person,
person.
if pain was a person.
Yeah.
I thought that was a very interesting title. You know what I'm saying? So I went and checked it out because I've always been intrigued with titles of songs. But when I saw if pain was a person, I definitely want to listen to that. And I remember, man, it was a couple of days ago. I went to listen to if pain was a person, and I listened to it about 2 or 3 times. And some things he was saying was definitely true. You know, when he talked about Uncle Ice, I paid in full. How Uncle Ice basically kidnapped his own
His
nephew
nephew.
and killed him because he wanted to get money because of his greed and his addiction. So from me listening to that song 2 or 3 times, before I know it, I started at song number 1 and went down to about probably about the 8th song. And I got there and as I was listening to each song one at a time, I started asking myself the question like what is the message I'm hearing right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, like what is this stirring up inside of me, bro? Was something I wanted to be acquainted with. You know, it was something that I thought that it didn't work out for me in my life in the direction I was headed into. And what are you consuming, and how is that starting to affect you individually? Because to me, right, that I consumed that, I planted that seed inside me internally. Now, as I planted that seed, something's gonna sprout out of it. You know what I'm saying? That was a reason why I used to listen to "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor" before football games.
Yeah.
It used to piss me off. You know what I'm saying? It used to take me where I needed to go for me to walk out in that football field and for me to do what I needed to do at that level. So, you know, I think that's the thing I wanted people just to be a little bit more aware of what are you consuming and what I am consuming, how is this starting to affect me? How is this starting to affect my relationships around me? How is this making me want to start to carry certain things out, respond to certain situations? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How I handle certain situations, how I'm going about talking to people. It's all predicated off of what are you consuming? It
Yeah.
truly is. Like, what am I consuming and what am I pouring into myself? And you know, that's one of those things that sounds a little cliche because you always hear people say that. But it's whatever goes inside got to come out. I think I said that
Yeah.
on an episode of before, man. It's whether that's food, liquid,
Yeah.
music, whatever. It's gonna come out. So
Yeah. It's definitely gonna come out, and it's before it comes out though, it's gonna be processed, right? Uh, our digestive system processes stuff before it filters it out, and it takes what it needs and what it don't need, and it puts it into our body so we can function. Music, media is the same way. Uh, our brain will take what it needs and don't need, right? Problem is some of us haven't built good enough filters or systems to filter out everything that needs to be filtered out. And the other problem is part of us, since we're human, part of us likes the bad stuff, right?
yeah,
Moneybagg is a great example. One of my favorite new artists that's out now, he is, and Lil Baby is. It's probably the only two I really listen to. But I listen to them because I can hear the growth and where they're trying to go, but they also come from something, a certain way
yeah,
of life. So they still speak to that as well, right? And part of you, part of me, the part that's wanting the good side that they're talking about, that's cool. But then part of me also likes the other side because we all in a sense come from that too.
yeah,
We've all been tricked into thinking certain stuff is cool, right? And that's one of the tricks that the elite played on us, was making us, they somehow made our way of life, just us being us, dangerous to everybody else, right? They kind of made us help ourselves, put ourselves in a position, right? By pushing it through media. They pick the stars, right? And then the stars tell us how to dress, how to act, what attitude to have, right? And we mimic that. And then I could just be a regular old college student, but I like to dress like this guy who media has portrayed as this savage, right? Now I'm dressing like them, I'm moving like them, I'm talking like them. And what they do with the other side is they make them think that that's dangerous, right? So no matter what my mindset is and what I'm doing, I look the part. When I look the part and they see that, I'm immediately a threat, right? Even though I may not want to be, but I am. And that's part of the reason why we see these police shootings and we see us killing each other is the other effect, because we also believe that we're worthless. And they taught us to if anybody's stepping on your territory, you take them out, even if he looks like you, right?
Stepping on your shoes.
Yeah, stepping on your shoes. We're taught that we mess over girls and have as many as we want, but the one you claim, that's yours. So if somebody's impeding on it, we take you out too. It's a lot of stuff we've been taught to devalue ourselves by seeds, right? Seeds. Some of the seeds they planted and we cultivated it, right? And so we have to start taking accountability for our part in some of this stuff, because did they plant the seed? Yeah, a long time ago. Guess who's been tilling the ground and pouring water on it though? We have. Like we do it to ourselves, right? I always talk about us being magical people, right? I told you a story about while I was at home. My dad and I were walking the property. He was showing me property lines and stuff, and we walked through a little valley that we used to hunt in, and it was an old branch that he cut down years ago, and the wood was still good in it. And he was telling me, look at the color of it, look how hard it was when it knocked on it. And he said, hey man, I think I can make you a good boot pull out of it, because if y'all know me, I'm a fan of cowboy boots. I always have been. Yeah. And if any of you guys wear those cowboy boots, you know they hard to get on and harder to get off. So what he told me, he'll make me a boot pull out of it. So he took his chainsaw, cut the wood out, shaped it out, stained it, right? I watched, that was one of my best experiences while I was at home. But what I'm getting at is it was magic because he had a thought, right? That seed got planted in his mind. I can make something out of it for my son. Then we worked towards making that happen. And then before I left, I had it sitting there in my face. That's magic, right? If that ain't pulling something out of thin air and making it happen, that's what we do. We all do that. I talked earlier about wanting to change my career path and then making it happen. You planted the seed that you were going to the NFL. And once your mind got stuck on that, against all odds, we had to get through clearinghouse first. Right, we had to take some classes over. Yeah. I ain't fast enough. I'm not the most coordinated. I'm from a small school, going to a small school. Injuring your last season, having to go through those all-star games and stuff. Backing in undrafted to the Baltimore Ravens, all people, as a defender, right? There's all these odds stacked up, but in your mind, you had planted your seed and cultivated. No matter what was coming from the outside, right? You was able to withstand it because you was cultivating your seed. You didn't allow your weeds and stuff to grow. Now, did some of them start growing in between after you got in? Yeah, of course. That's life, right? Well, some of them still growing after you left the league. Yeah, but then you had to plant another seed and say, hey, man, all these weeds I see, substance, anger, all this stuff, I got to work that down and start cultivating this seed that you're on now, right?
And it wasn't just weeds; they was vines.
Yeah,
I had some
running amok. Audrey too, right? Yeah. that's what you had. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So, but once we put that in our mind, what we focus on is what we'll get. Right. If I decide that I want to get into, we started trading last year, right? Doing day trading. Once we started focusing on it, who do we start to run into? You went to a restaurant, some people talking behind you. Yeah. Right. Talking about what? Trading. Yeah. We draw that to it. Once you start focusing on it, you draw it to yourself. You got into guns. Wanting to do drills and different obstacle courses, and who gets drawn to you? Army Rangers and SEALs, and before you know it, you shooting a 50 cal turd off in the mountain somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Because you draw that to yourself. You getting to working out. You start going to the gym tomorrow. Somebody sees you serious about it. They gonna eventually come over to you and say something. Hey man, you need a partner, you need a spot. I see you doing this. Hey, this is what I did.
Yeah.
You draw that to yourself. Again, positive stuff still takes work though, because you still gonna have to cultivate that. You start doing the negative stuff. You want to get into drugging, you make a phone call, right? Before you know it, all the druggers in your area. You know what I'm saying? They hitting you up. How long would it take you to fall down that hole? It don't take much work for that
No.
at all, because it's easy to feed that bad side. It's there. Again, that super you is there. It's still there. We absorb it. We control it, but it's there. And if you feed it, it can grow. It can get out of hand, right? And choke off all this other stuff that you've been trying to do. So I think when we become aware of that we actually draw whatever we want to draw to us, money, whatever. If you needed help with being monogamous, right? And you start really concentrating on that, you start meeting dudes who've been at it for the longest, and they'll tell you their struggles with it and how they overcame it. If you're doing that and you on that path and you focused on that, it's probably the best you don't focus on porn or listen to music that's talking about having 3-4 women at a time, because bad side gonna be like, yeah, that's that's what we need. You ain't been feeding me, man. Now I'm hungry.
Is it? Yeah,
Part
bad
of you gonna
side
love
tell
it.
you that. Yeah.
Anybody can tell you, oh man, I ain't in. That don't mean nothing to me. It might not if you focused on it and you doing the right stuff. But I wouldn't recommend it if that was your life in the past. You go lay down in the brothel, because you're gonna do something, buddy. Because at the other side,
Yeah.
he gonna get fed.
You know, that's the crazy thing about it, kind of going back to the money bag. When I was listening to him, man, that other side was getting stirred up. It felt good for a little bit. I was like, oh no, man, I gotta put him back in the cage, man. He gotta go. He gotta go. The beat was hitting, he was spitting lyrics.
Yeah.
And then I started to ask myself the question, what is he saying? You know what I'm saying? And what is this stirring up inside of me? And for me, and it wasn't stirring up anything inside me that I needed brought back up. I don't. Because if it did, then I wouldn't be right here speaking right now.
Yeah. If they see, if you allow those bad seeds to take over, no matter how good you've been doing, you talked about the book earlier, no matter how great that chapter is, if you let that take over for a split second, you can omit it, right? But you got to read your own book. So the story you put out to everybody else, you can edit that part out. But here, shit, when you reading your own book, you gotta read it. Or how that's gonna make you feel when you read that. Damn, man, I let that happen. And I knew it. I'm aware. I knew I could stop it, but I didn't. I allowed it to get out of control. It can happen just like that, man. It's real easy for that to happen. For you to allow something else to come in and just throw you off track, right? Which brings me to something else we talked about, which was having your own definition of success, right? And not letting anybody else define that for you. I feel like we also plant that seed, right? We give ourselves a definition of what success is. Whenever the universe gives us a goal or idea, and we set that goal and we say, I'm going to work towards this, right? If you attain that, that's success, right? That's your definition. Success is just a desired effect on something you aimed at, right? Who can like you? I can't desire something for you. I can, but only you can get toward what you desire, right? You know what your definition of success is in your mind. You know what that goal was you set, right? Now, if you start to look around and look at other people, start to let them set what that success is for you, what you'll do is you allow another seed to come in, right, and be planted. You start planting the seed of dissatisfaction and doubt. Well, I wanted to save 500 this month, but he saved 2,500, right? And you'll mess around and save 750. you actually went over your goal.
Yeah.
But since you allowed that seed to get planted, now you dissatisfied. Now you're in a funk. I ain't did nothing, right? Because I'm looking over here and allowing somebody else's definition of success to be my definition, right?
Right.
I remember I can't remember whose class I was in, maybe Mr. Free or somebody, right? And I think it was his class. I always liked history, so I studied, right? And it was like 2 questions I couldn't get. Right? I couldn't, I'm taking the test and I couldn't get it. Melinda Barber sat to the side of me, right? Melinda Barber, matter of fact, she just lost her brother. Shout out and rest in peace to Ken Barber.
Yeah.
Melinda
Condolences go to
Barber
her, man.
was more one of the smarter kids in our class. Her mother was a teacher. She was smart. So I glance over at Melinda's paper, right? So I glance over. I see what she has for those answers, for the 2 answers I'm looking for, right? But it's a multiple choice test. So I don't see questions, I just see an answer sheet. So I see those 2, but I'm looking at my answer sheet, and about 7 or 8 of the other answers ain't the same. I'm like, damn. I know for a fact I knew these were right. Now I'm questioning it. So now I go back and I start changing stuff, right? Now I'm cheating. I'm looking at her paper and I'm changing my answers on my paper, right? So we get it back. They hand the papers out. I see Melinda get a 9.8. I'm like, I got this 9.8. I get mine. I had like a 45 on it, right? And I'm thinking, I said, how in the hell did that happen? Whole time we had different tests. He giving out tests in different with questions in different orders. A lot of teachers do that, right? So by me looking over here, trying to define my success off of her paper and changing all the shit that I already had right. It was right if I left it alone.
You knew it.
I sacrificed my whole test for 2 questions that I didn't quite know, right? When I could have just kind of guessed, because I based my success off of her, right? And then when I got my test back, I failed because I'm over here looking outside looking in. I'm over here looking over here. I can't see everything, but it looks like that's what success is, and what I got in front of me ain't. That's how dangerous it could be when you get to looking over here and you decide, man, I wanna own my own trailer, right? And you do everything you gotta do to own it, and you get it, and you got it. Your family happy with it, you happy with it, and you look over here, and your cousin just bought a new 2-story house, 5, 6 bedrooms, 3, 4 bathrooms, right? 2, 3 acres on it. You got what you set out to have, but instead of that motivating you, it makes you shit on what you got sitting here already. You dissatisfied now. You doubting if what I did was good enough. That seed, that doubt would choke all the good that you got right there, choke all that out. Because it's like I said, it's taking the sunlight from it. It's taking the nutrients from it. Now, all these outside influences can tear that down because it's easy for it to now weaken what you once had as a strong goal because you allow somebody else's success to be your definition of success.
So going back for a second, so I guess the question I would ask you is, if I gotta go, right, let's say to have 3-bedroom, 2,500 square feet house, and I get that, right? I get that house, and then I'm paying attention to such and such on social media, and they get a house bigger than mine. And now once I've seen it, I basically have forgotten about my goal and what I set out for myself and say, oh man, well, I need to do this. How can you get to a place of being satisfied and still look at somebody else's stuff? Look at that individual stuff and that bigger house they got. I'm just giving that example, and be okay with it. And be okay with saying, oh, that's what they got, but I'm good with what I got though. I'm good with my 3-bedroom house and 2,500 square feet.
Having an understanding of timing for one. And then, like we always say, celebrating your actual wins along the way. Because for one, we don't know what they went through and their process of getting to what they got. Yep. Right? They could have had that same house you had before. It's all about timing and stages, right? You can see that and want it, But instead of you being dissatisfied with what you got, because a lot of ambitious people make that mistake of not celebrating when they do it. We need to celebrate all the way up. Right? I always say, now once I get to that finish line, we always say we're gonna pick that finish line up and throw it in front of us. So what you can do, instead of being dissatisfied, you can say, hey, that's my next goal over there, what they got. And now we're gonna start working to it, right? Because the other thing is, like we always say, bigger house, bigger mortgage, more to clean, more property tax. You got to ask yourself if they want that. Then you also have to realize sometimes it's best to talk. We always say that, have somebody you can talk to that's already in that lane, if that's what you're trying to go to, because they can tell you. Man, you talked last year. At one point, you were talking about downsizing, right?
Yeah.
You somebody's goal. Somebody won't get to where Edgar at. Yeah, Edgar trying to get back down close to where you at. Because once you have these things, right, you start to see what else comes along with it. Everything's a catch-22.
Everything,
right?
brother.
Be careful what you ask for. Right. You see people who chase a certain type of woman. I say it all the time. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You want a woman that's wildly successful. She's got all the looks, she got everything that you want. Right. And you get that, are you willing to deal with the pressure that comes with it? Because you want it. Everybody else want her too. What if she can't? She probably can't tell 10,000 dudes a day no. Somebody might slip in on you. You never know. It comes with a certain territory. Every little thing we think we want comes with a certain territory. The other thing I would say to that is you have to be confident, or you have to find who you are first. And if you know who you are and you're cool with that, then nothing else nobody else has can bother you. I like to talk about Elijah that used to sit out in front of Grambling all the time, right? And everybody thinking he was just this crazy man, bums. He don't only wear shorts. He had this big, long African stick that he walked around with, long dreads. And once you talk to some of the older people, they'll tell you he's one of the smartest people around them, right? And I heard that he moved off a while back, upstate somewhere. We would assume that he didn't have nothing. He was just some wild man.
Yeah.
Right. I respect him. I look up to him actually, because he was perfectly okay with being who he was and watching all this other stuff go on around him. We could have had it if he wanted it. Probably had it before. And say, hey man, you know, all that stuff. It's a gospel song. And you know my take on religion. I take from any religion I can take good stuff from. Still love my Southern Baptist roots, right? It's a gospel song that say, build your hopes on things eternal. Hold the God's unchanging hand, right? None of that stuff we talking about, that bigger house, that car, all perishable stuff, right? All that stuff.
Yeah.
We said it on the episode before. You don't live in that house long enough. Guess what's gonna happen? It's gonna start crumbling. It's gonna fade. Cars, it's gonna fade. Money come, money go. You know that. Yeah, I know. You know what I'm saying? It's in and out. Building on eternal stuff. That story I told you about, me and my daddy, him finding that log and making me that boot puller. I told you outside of my family that's sitting in this house, ain't nothing more valuable to me than that boot puller he made. Ain't no more of them in the world. He made it from his heart for his son. And I got to experience him sitting there making it. We listened to the blues and I watched him work on it. We listened to the blues and ate Popeye, right? While he built his son a boot puller. What's better than that? You know what I'm saying? ain't nothing better than that. I build my stuff on that type of stuff, listening to my son and daughter argue or his footsteps running upstairs while I'm trying to record, right? That's beautiful to me. I'm about to go over here and eat barbecue with Scat when we get through recording this.
Yeah.
Right. My brother up here making money, living comfortably. I can drive 10 minutes that way and go eat barbecue with him. We're going to sit and listen to some blues and have a beer too. It ain't about the house that we going to. He got a nice apartment on the golf course. It ain't about that. It's about the experience in the middle, right? That's the eternal stuff. That other stuff we know for a fact because we done lived through it before, right? He was next door to me on K-Book. We can be back there like that. easily. Right.
Easily.
Our experiences growing up, becoming brothers, me, you, him, playing basketball in the yard, boxing in the yard. That's the eternal stuff. That's the relationships built from that. That's why we still in touch now. That's why it ain't got nothing to do with what we was driving or the clothes we had. You know what I'm saying? That stuff come and go. How you grow, I can't wear none of that no more. I now grew all that for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what it's about, man. I think if you get one-on-one with self and you good with who you are and you set your goals because that's what you want, then it won't be hard for you to look at somebody else's success and say, hey man, that's nice what he got, but I'm good with what I got. Or say, you know what? I think we might want to go big. I'm gonna set that goal and I'm gonna talk to him about it instead of hating or feeling like, man, why he got there, how they got there, or man, I ain't did nothing. Don't start planting them bad seeds, because those seeds are the ones that'll take over instantly, and they'll choke out all the good stuff that you was building and working towards.
God, man, you just said a lot of stuff to chew on. I don't even know what to say. That's the end of this episode, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see y'all later. Hey, no, yeah, no, I'm just kidding. We still rolling. Man, I'm gonna go back for a second and get into that success because I give my personal experience. But something you just said, I think a lot of times we can accomplish a goal that we've set out and worked hard to get, and then due to seeing somebody else do something, totally just disregard what we just did and what great job we just got, or what great just happened in our family due to looking at somebody else's story in their life and saying, you know what, man, it don't even matter, dude. What I did don't mean nothing. And what can happen is you just planted that seed, right? So now you're consistent with doing that to yourself. So you really learn how to appreciate anything or any achievements or anything you've accomplished. And I think going back to what you just said, this gives my experience on success. As a kid, I used to define success as making a lot of money. That's what I define success as, obtaining a lot of wealth, because as a kid, I felt like I used to hit it a lot. When you watch TV, I hear people talk all the time. Man, I want to make a lot of money. I want to have a lot of money. And due to me not experiencing that as a child, not having that, because I was on the other side of that coin, we didn't have a lot, you know. We weren't the poorest, but we just still didn't have a lot. I thought that having a lot of the material things would make me happy. Now, getting into the NFL, I got a real shock to the face.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you, for all people that don't know, when you play in that level, you get paid 17 weeks out of the year. I mean, out of the season, right? So if it's 17 games in the season, you get paid each week, and then after that, unless you're due for some type of signing bonus or you're renegotiating your contract and you get a signing bonus, that's what you have to plan. You have to plan for the other 35 weeks, you know, that's coming. And man, I remember my first check I got, that check was $7,000, dude, something like that. I ain't never, I never, like, what? I just got all this at one time. And I remember what I did is I went out and I brought me a bunch of tennis shoes, man. I always wanted to have a lot of tennis shoes in my closet. And I remember buying that. And for the first maybe week or so, it felt good. But then I felt like I wanted more. So then what it did is it led me down this rabbit hole of I got to get more, I got to get more, I got to get more. Now, as I continued to play and got older, obviously those checks got a little bit bigger week to week. And I remember being around some teammates that was making easily $800,000 a week. Easily. I remember specifically sending teammates check. I'll never forget this. We sit at the lunchroom table. We getting ready to go to practice. And typically every all of them, man. Jonathan Ogden, man. Hall of Fame offensive tackle. Jonathan Ogden came in there with some old busted down shoes, toe up shorts, shirt looked like he had been painting all day. And we sitting in the lunchroom eating now. And I'm a rookie. We sitting in the lunchroom table, we eating. And what they would do is that they would give each player their check, the check stub, whether you had a direct deposit or you chose to just have the actual check in hand. But I remember Ogden was sitting down, he opened his check up and I looked at that check. Dude, that check was $970,000. Yikes. You got paid that in 1 week? Like you got paid that in 1 week? Now, I didn't know Ogden, I didn't spend a lot of time with Jonathan like that. But I always paid attention to he was always the most simplest guy. But I've been around other teammates that I knew that was making a lot of money, dude. I'm talking about a lot of money that they were not happy, man. They were not happy at all. As a matter of fact, I think they were probably more depressed than happy. And I think for me, as I started to continue to elevate at that level and year after year, it's funny because I was always trying to define my happiness in money. And no matter how much I made, dude, I always felt like there was a void of emptiness and it was never enough. You know what I'm saying? And I go back and I think now that that's what I was defining my success off of, like making this money, dude, because I never had it. And just me getting to that level now, making it, like I'm thinking like this is what's gonna make me happy. And it wasn't until I was able to pull back from the forest that I could see the trees when I transitioned out of ball that I realized out of all those years, man, I was now on this path and this journey of really trying to ask myself a question, a real question of what do you define as happiness, Edgar? I had to actually ask myself, what do you define as happiness? Because I knew money wasn't doing it. You know what I'm saying? I knew having a nice vehicle, going on extravagant vacations, going here and there. I can remember vividly, man, one of my teammates calling me up, like during April. We was in off-season workouts. Hey, man, you want to go to Vegas? Yeah. Come drive to New Jersey and come meet me. So Baltimore, New Jersey, I only like a 2-hour drive. If that, I drive up to Jersey. Well, what airport I mean? Yeah, I need to book my ticket to go. Don't worry, we flying private. We flew on a private jet, flew to Vegas, kicked it for 3 days. I remember seeing him spend like $70,000-$80,000, dude, one night, and then flew back like nothing happened. And even when I flew back after that, those 3 days of everything that happened, and I don't need to go into everything that happened for them 3 days, but it was a pretty good time. I still felt like there was a void of emptiness, man. When I got by myself, when I spent that time by myself, I still feel like, man, that ain't enough. You know, so it got me to a point now of just what do I define as success? And man, I think it's the small things, dude. Of being there for the moments for my kid, you know what I'm saying? Spending time with friends and family when I get a chance, being able to give people words of encouragement, being able to speak to people like how we have people comment on what we're doing now and people giving us feedback. But man, that right there, dude, that right there is stuff that makes you lay down and go to sleep at night. But like, man, that's what it's about. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. It's bigger than me. You know what I'm saying? And for me at that moment when I was playing ball, now the flip side of the coin is that there was a lot of great things that came from football, but there was also a lot of things I had to work through that honestly ended up hurting me as I got out of football. So now and I think from a world standpoint, um, we predicate success off all the material things. You got to have more. You got to look this way. You got to dress this way. You got to have this. You got to drive this. Your body got to look this way, and you successful, dude. And honestly, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've experienced enough in my life of those things I'm talking to y'all about, and it just never, man, it never felt that void. You know what I'm saying? For me, just in my personal relationship, in my faith, dude, growing in my faith, you know what I'm saying? That making me a lot more at peace. Me spending time in my Bible, man, me spending time worshiping, me being able to pour that into other people and give people that, man, and seeing how I was able to change their life and seeing them smile, man. To me, dude, being able to see somebody walk into a room that you can tell. One thing about life, dude, if you really have experienced pain and adversity, if you can really open your eyes and be aware, you can see it on other people. You know what I'm saying? You could have somebody come into a room and you can tell they're dealing with something and you can look them in their eyes and see that they battling with something. And for me, me being able to open up my eyes from a spiritual standpoint and letting the Holy Spirit work in me, and me being able to see that, and me being able to talk to somebody and make an impact in their life, that they go from being an individual that's hurt, that now they starting to smile a little bit more. Now they starting to kind of figure out who they are. They're on that journey of trying to figure that out. Man, it ain't nothing no more rewarding to me of that. You know what I'm saying? Like that, seeing that right there, like, the spending time with my wife, man, hanging out with her and us getting a chance to learn more about each other. To me, dude, I define that as success. But I wouldn't know that until I had a chance to see the other side for me, and the other side of what I thought it was, what the world told me what success was. And I was like, well, let me try this appetizer out and see how this tastes. And I'm still hungry. It never fulfilled me, man. It just, I've searched the world, man. And man's empty praise and all that, dude. And it just didn't, man. But I'm gonna pass it back to you. But just that me going into, man, who are you, man? You know what I'm saying? Really starting to spend some time with myself and ask myself those serious questions. And I'm not saying nothing is wrong with wanting to go out there and make a lot of money and give your family a nice house and drive a nice car. Rightfully so, man. My point with that is, if that's your sole priority all the time, if that's like all the time, then that's when I feel like you're going to hit that of, this ain't enough. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I want to say. Nothing's wrong with those things at all. Financially being free, moving to a nice neighborhood, man, and giving your kids the best of the best. But understanding if you look through that as that's what my happiness should be, and that's my priority. That's why I think we get into that place of, oh man, I'm empty. I'm still empty, because we look for that to fulfill us, and we make that our priority. So I know you got some stuff to say, brother. I'm gonna pass this mic back to you.
we live in. I'm happy you said that part at the end. So I don't want nobody to think I'm saying, hey, just be broke and you're gonna be happy.
Nope, I ain't saying that at all, man. I ain't saying that at all.
We live in. You gotta play the play the hand that you dealt. We're in a certain game. We live in a certain nation, and this nation is built off capitalism. So having money. Johnny Taylor said, "Love makes the world go round, but money greases the wheel." So the more of it you can get, the better off you'll be as far as how you can navigate through the world we live in, the nation we live in, right? So yeah, attach it. Part of success is wealth to me, generational wealth though, and attaining that is something that's good. Can be, if you okay with who you are before all that. Right, because like Edgar just said, that can lead you down the road that some people don't ever come back from. Right, we just lost DMX.
Yeah,
rest in peace, DMX. DMX is one of the people, the addiction of fame, and then having all that money to have access to stuff that he didn't need. He was trying. You could see him battling all the time. He checked himself into rehab all the time.
Yeah,
but since he never checked that before he got all that money was actually a bad thing for him, because now, and the fame, because now I can go anywhere and I got all these yes men that's gonna get me whatever I want, and I got the money to get wherever I want. And again, feeding to that negative seed, it'll take over way quicker than the positive will. So that's just one example I can give you. Edgar, your story, I'm close to your story, of course. So it's a picture that's on it's on our intro now. I had him added to it. It's a picture of you, Hello to Nada. Is it Ray?
Yeah.
Ed and Mason. Right, all in the Hall of Fame are going. Right, if you ask me, by my measure, all of them. So
all of them.
And then it's you, Edgar Devon Jones from Raven, Louisiana. Right, that we clumsy Edgar that we all grew up around. Right. When we watched outside looking in, when we got to see, and he wasn't even playing that much back then, but I DVR'd, right? me and you'll talk after games. I tell you everything you did and everything somebody did to you, right? The bad injury in Washington when you was playing for Washington.
Yeah.
I was working overnight at Chase. Me and you talk 2, 3 in the morning. You like, man, I knocked dude out today. I'm like, nah, it ain't quite happened like that. you was about to. They
Yeah, I was
push
about
you
to
in
get
your
on
back.
that smoke.
But we were tuned in. None of us from where we from gave a damn what Edgar Jones's check was. It was the fact that Edgar Jones from where we were from was in the NFL, right? We got to see somebody we could reach out and touch and talk to was in the NFL. Somebody we walked the same house we was in the NFL. And trickle down off of that, behind you comes Richard Murphy, comes your Chris Tollivers, your Snappers, your Kenny Bells, all these people that go to SEC schools and make their journey into the league, a few of them. Chris Tolliver would have, in my mind, Chris Tolliver would have been the one that went high and played, everybody would have saw him if it wouldn't been for the concussion injury.
Yeah.
But
was a dog.
all of that spurns off of that because now we see that it's attainable. It can happen. And we know it can happen because you tell the story all the time, but not be, if somebody walked in, it was you, Quint Brown, Tater, Dale, man, we can name Murphy, Head,
Yeah.
Cat, Tank, right? You walk in the room and all y'all lined up back then, and we say, okay, pick me 3 people who going to the NFL out of this bunch, right? They probably wouldn't have picked you in one of the top 3. You see what I'm saying? If you would have saw what these cats were capable of and what they were doing naturally, you would have said, okay, I'm gonna take him, and him. They going for sure, right? So now the fact that all of us who know you weren't the most athletic, you weren't the most naturally gifted, and we saw that your work led you to that. That was the part we was holding on to. It had nothing to do with money. Because as far as outside looking in, though, once you go to the NFL, you're a millionaire, right? You know otherwise, but
yeah,
outside looking in, I don't know that. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. That's the eternal stuff because now you hear it said all the time when you little, you can be whatever you want to be from where we from, right?
Yeah.
What do you have to look at and say, okay, that's true, I can. You don't have much, right? You hear about Evan Hayes and stuff, but that's before our time. You don't have nothing to show you, okay, I can do that. For a lot of us, we had Edgar Jones, right? The ones before us had Potts and Reggie Burnett. We ain't know them. They older than us. We ain't really know that. But for the ones right there and under that, you got Edgar Jones, spin-offs of Edgar Jones. You got Richard Murphy, you got Chris Todd, you got Bell. Edgar Jones was our first one. So that was the eternal stuff. It ain't had much to do with no money or nothing like that. But hey, man, I can go do that. And I can do whatever, right? If I work at it. So just that kind of stuff is the stuff you wanna try to hold on to. That picture that I talked about. Like, man, where we from to see that, like, I don't even know how to explain that. You don't know how to explain that.
I don't even know how to explain it. I don't even know how to explain that photo because I was looking at that photo yesterday, actually, was sitting there looking at it and couldn't even,
damn the check. What we saw, what that picture meant to me was, and I used to tell it to you, all that meant is you belong right there. And that's big in itself. To be mentioned in the names in the same space with those guys, being from where you from, let us know it actually brought some humanizing to them because to us, they like out of this world. Ray is like, he ain't human, not from where we from, watching Ray. Yeah. Like that ain't human, but I got to meet Ray through you. Ray turned, when I got to meet Ray, this is a funny story. Ray always been one of my favorite players, right? Me and my brother Scat, we Ray Lewis fans to the core. Before Edgar ever went to the Ravens, I was playing with Ray Lewis and them on the game. He used to play with the Chargers, and I talk noise all day about this Ravens defense and Ray. He was trying to run LT. I'm going to meet him in the hole with Ray. That's all we talked about, right? Yeah. So when he got drafted when he went undrafted to the Ravens, I was probably more excited than he was because, man, he a Raven now. Me and Scat was hype. Matter of fact, Scat got a helmet right now. You signed, they just moved up here. that helmet was packaged better than anything he had in his right. It came out first. We set it to the side like it was the Holy Grail. Like, okay. But I got to meet Ray when you played in Kansas City. I got to meet Ed. I got to meet everybody really. But Ray had all these people around him. And then finally, when the crowd kind of dispersed, you walked behind Ray and picked him up. He turned around, saw who you were. You went to introducing us. And when you introduced him and said, hey, man, that's my Uncle Bo, which is my dad.
Yeah.
Ray said, Uncle Bo, man, I heard so much about you, and grabbed my dad and hugged him. Right now, in my mind, what that means is, hey, I've been itching to meet Ray. And Ray happy to meet my dad, right? This a moment, so I ain't gonna fan out. So when me and Ray embrace or whatever, and y'all ask if I want a picture, I'm like, nah.
Hey, that's a true story. He said, I don't want no picture.
I don't want no picture. What I just experienced was enough, right? Eternal stuff, right? That picture could have faded, burned up, did whatever. That moment though is ingrained right there because I got to see the respect he had for you as a peer, not as somebody under me, little dog, none of that. It was respect as a peer because y'all wasn't even on the same team no more. He respected your work ethic, what you stood for. He respected my dad for his role he played in your life. And he respected us as family just based off you. That's all I needed. I ain't need nothing else, right? So
hey, I'm gonna add to that story. So after you shake his hand and we ask you what you want a picture, you say no. So I finished talking to Ray a little bit, and I ended up talking because at that time I was in Kansas City. We played against the Ravens, and we in Kansas City. So I'm talking to a couple of the teammates, and I end up getting in my truck to drive back to we was going to go get something to eat. And while we driving down the road, I was like, hey, Court, you all right back there? And this is what he said, ladies and gentlemen. I quote this. He said, if a motor out of an airplane dropped out of the sky right now and fell on my head, I'll be completely okay.
Yeah.
He said I'd be completely okay with it dropping on my head and killing me. Yeah. But hey man, the moments, man. The moments, you know. It's that was funny, man. That took me back, you know. And I think that's an important thing in life, man. Just like I said, man, earlier, like I'm not saying nothing is wrong with wanting to achieve and build generational wealth and taking care of your family, taking care of your kids. Rightfully so, you should do that, man. But if I make that my soul and that's just my everything, and there's nothing else in life that's important to me other than that, I speak for myself, and I always said this. I speak from experience, man. And I talk about I'm an expert in my life experience and things I've done. It won't fulfill you, man. There has to be other things in life that's bigger than you, that you can be able to pour back into and give back to, that's rewarding, and that can fulfill you, man. And that's why I think even when I was going through that phase in the league, man, I was still trying to define like who I was, because I never really had sat down and asked myself that question. I really just started to think about that, truly, really think about that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, typically what happens is it takes our world to get solid, right? Typically you lose a job or something happens to you, or there's a health change in your life where you really start to sit down and be like, all right, man, now I really need to start to think about these things. You know what I'm saying? And what I thought was important, what I thought fulfilled me doesn't. And now that life has set me down for a little bit, I got to start to ask myself that question. So I don't know, man. We can go so far down other conversations, man. But man, it's always a pleasure to be here with y'all, to be able to just hopefully we give y'all some things to think about. I think that's always been the biggest goal for us, is just to make y'all start to think a little bit more and start to become more in tune with yourself and asking yourself these questions. We thank y'all for just sharing, man. The feedback and the likes that we've been getting, man, has been crazy. I know on Facebook, because that's our biggest platform, we probably I mean, Corey, I think you've been keeping more up with it than I have, with just all the likes and the shares. And thank y'all, man. That's what I want to say.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all, and thank y'all so much for the support.
Uh, Definitely thank y'all for the support, man. Edgar said he hoped that we leave y'all with something to think about. And since we on the subject we on today, our biggest goal is to plant seeds, right? That's all we try to do. We don't try to force nothing. Plant a little seed, man, sprinkle a little water on it, but it's really your job to cultivate it and to make it grow. So we're trying to plant positive seeds to you, and it's gonna take work for that to grow into your life, right? Part of you wanting to let those seeds grow is gonna be the process. And part of the process is going through negative, right?
Yeah.
You can't have positive without negative. So part of your process is gonna be going through these battles and these processes, thinking, all right, this is what I really want, and this is the way I want to go, and this is who I am, and finding out otherwise through experience. We only got to this place through experience. Edgar just told you he only figured out that money wasn't gonna fill him up through experience and money first. Sometimes you gotta go out and experience this stuff. Don't be scared of your process, but be aware of the seeds that you plant. Be aware of the seeds that you got in your bag, what you allow to come in, right?
Yeah.
Be aware of that, because again, those negative seeds, you throw them out. They don't need your help to grow and get wild. They don't need no help. They'll take over, man. Define what success is to you and stick to that definition. Celebrate every time you reach a goal, right? And then if you want to set a new one, set it. But don't take for granted and don't become dissatisfied with what you already did accomplish. Because it'll get to a point to where if you're real hard on yourself and you get into your dark days and you need something to pick you up, somebody to pat you on your back, and ain't nobody else around but you, and you're not used to picking yourself up and patting yourself on the back, that's where depression just takes over. Because you all you got is you, and you ain't even accustomed to saying nothing good to yourself, or saying, hey man, I did that. You know what I'm saying? I made that happen. Celebrate it. And set you a new goal if you want to. Keep your eyes on your paper, right?
Yeah, man.
Pay attention to your test. Go for what you know, and don't start letting other people's success define yours. And plant good seeds, man. Right?
Yeah, man.
Keep watching, keep liking, keep sharing, man. We thank y'all. I am Courtney Anderson.
And I'm Edgar Jones.
Been the Lit Code, man. We out.